Is there a motion to come out of executive session? Moved by Councilor Yazbek. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Zawinski. Any discussion?
Make the motion that seal the minutes and no decision were made.
So moved. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Selves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes. Item number 5, open, actually, we're supposed to have, that's actually, a vote, saying that we take any, we've already said we can take any votes in session, right? Okay.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is open forum pursuant to Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46-6D. Normally, we do this at 6:45 at the second meeting of the month. We had to do an executive session first, so we can allow for as much as 10-15 minutes if anybody would like to address the council. You can do so at this time. You just identify yourself and your address for the record. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 6, the presentation of citation for Eagle Scout Andrew Lemieux. And with all of the business that comes before the council, it is actually very gratifying to be able to have opportunities such as this. Unfortunately, Andrew can't be with us this evening, but his parents are. And we just wanted to take this opportunity to recognize Andrew's attainment of the Eagle Scout status. And I have a citation that says, Town of North Smithfield, State of Rhode Island, and Providence Plantations, official citation, be it hereby known to all that the North Smithfield Town Council hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Andrew Lemieux in recognition of attaining the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest award in the Scouting program. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this occasion and expresses the hope for continued fortune. And I think it's worth pointing out, it's something that a lot of folks drive by. Andrew's project was the replacement of the fence around the little red schoolhouse on School Street, which was a major undertaking, having to remove the old one, digging the posts, and returning it to its original condition. So that's an example of the kind of benefits that we get in this town from programs like this. So I don't recognize Mr. and Mrs. Lemieux, although I think that, there we are in the back. If you wouldn't mind stepping forward and accepting this on behalf of Andrew. Moving right along, we actually want to try to take care of, there's a number of sound permits that are here this evening, which will take collectively, I'm guessing, less than 5 minutes. So I'd like to try to move those out at this time, which means that we would be moving down to new business, item number 12A, discussion by council vote or other action on request for sound permit, and this one is for C. Fleck. Is anybody, sir, could you please just come to the podium and state your name for the record? And while you're doing that, I'll just ask the town clerk if everything's in order on the application. Can you just say a word or two about what the permit is for?
Yes, hi, I'm Chad Fleck, 351 Grange Road, asking for a permit so that I can have music entertainment at a family birthday party.
Can you just refresh my memory as to the times that this is for?
This would be Saturday, August 2nd, and what we would like to do is have a band for an hour in the afternoon, and then in the evening I have a DJ who's available until 9, and if permitted, I'd love to be able to go an extra hour until 10.
Are there any motions?
Mr. President,
Councilor Zawinski.
I'll make a motion to approve a sound permit for Chad Fleck of 351 Grange Road, so that he can have a DJ perform. I'm sorry, Mr. Fleck, did you say from what, 6 to?
5 to 9, but if permitted, I'd like to be able to go till 10 if they're available.
5 to 10, and Mr. Fleck will be responsible for monitoring traffic and parking out there in the Grange Road area.
Motion by Councilor Zawinski. Is there a second? seconded by Councilor Yazbek. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Galais?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes. Congratulations, happy time. The next item is B, discussion by council vote or other action on request for sound system permit, Holy Ghost Society of North Smithfield. Is there anybody here this evening from the Holy Ghost Society who can speak to this? I don't think you need to be here for it. I think the paperwork is in order.
Mr.
It
President,
happens every year. Yes.
it's an annual event, and I don't believe we've ever had any complaints. I'll make a motion to approve as requested.
Motion by Councilor Yazbek. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor McGee and Zelinski. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, ask for a roll call vote.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Galais?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes. Motion carries. The next one is discussion by council vote or other action on request for sound system permit, Kyle, if I say this correctly, Gruyere, and F Plant. And if somebody could step forward. Hello, welcome.
We're looking to get married.
All right.
I don't have one in the house. We get married.
You don't say that convincingly. Mr. President, I've known Mr. Brullier since he was young. I'm going to ask the attorney, solicitor, Mr. Solicitor, Mr. Brullier is in my neighborhood. I would like to vote on this. I don't know if I should recuse myself. I've known the family forever. I don't think it'll be a problem.
The only time you would recuse yourself if there's any financial gain or loss or anything like that. I mean, that's how I would see it. Or if you don't feel that you could vote fairly, I mean, then you would recuse yourself.
I'm invited.
That's
right?
it.
If I may speak, Mr. President.
Yes.
Kyle, most of our sound permits throughout the town have always been to 9 p.m. or 10 p.m.
That's what I figured around 10.
Yeah, right down, you've written down here from 4 p.m. to unknown, and then... Lori, was that you?
She does all the paperwork.
She's covering all the bases, that's good. I would make a motion to approve it from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Do you think that'll work for you? Okay, I'd like to, and parking is going to be an issue, Kyle.
No,
right?
we got permission down at Arrow, down the bottom of the hill.
Okay.
Yeah, he gets permission to park there, there's plenty of parking in that area. We just shuttle them up to the house.
Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the sound permit for Kyle D. Brullier and Faith Heat Plant, location 220 Hind Road, on August the 9th. It's a motion.
Motion by Councilor Zelinski. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Alves and Councilor McGee. Is there any further discussion?
And just from 4 to 10 with the parking being handled? Okay.
Yes.
Hearing none, ask for a roll call vote.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Galais?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes. Congratulations on your becoming married. And at this time, we're going to return to the regular agenda. We're up to item number 7, discussion by council vote or other action on hiring a firm for forensic audit and/or agreed upon procedures engagement for assessor's office regarding the $750,000 in abatements. And for this, I'm going to turn it to Mr. Yazbek, who has been doing some diligence on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, if you could indulge me for 5 minutes, I'd just like to bring the council up to speed as to exactly what I've done in the last few weeks. I met with our current auditors, which is Harley, Poirier and Associates, otherwise known as PPA. I met with them approximately 2.5 or 3 weeks ago at their office in Warwood. I provided them a list of the abatements that Assessor Boss had provided us, I believe on June 2nd or 3rd. I also provided them with the transcription of the minutes as best as the town clerk could prepare from that meeting with the questions that various town council folks had asked Assessor Boss. I also provided the name of the gentleman who's filling in Mr. Alan Booth and his contact information, explained the situation as best I could with them, asked them if they could please consider giving us a proposal so that we could do this extra work. They informed me at that time that they have to do so much of this work, they have to document the systems surrounding the tax assessments anyways as part of their regular audit of the financial statements. And they said that they would get somebody in to do that, so then they would be able to come back to us with a proposal. I did inform them of the deadline of last Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, I said, of last week, so that we could get it into the packet, etc. And so that's what I've done so far with Poirier, Parmalee and Associates. I believe that's the name of the firm. I think it's Parmalee, Poirier and Associates LLC. In addition to that, approximately a week and a half ago, the name of Mr. Richard Nicholson, who is a CPA and an attorney, was forwarded to me by the town administrator. So I made an appointment with Mr. Nicholson and met with him, I believe it was a week ago Friday, went to his office, provided him the exact same documents that I had provided to Parmalee, Poirier and Associates, explained to him basically the same information, asked him for a proposal to come back in front of the council. So tonight in the packet, you have a proposal from Nicholson and Associates. There was an email that came from Parmalee, Poirier and Associates, which is in the packet, but if I could just summarize, basically, they haven't given a proposal as of yet. They feel that they need to do more work to get involved with it and to look a little bit better at it before they can. They did give a rough estimate that the project may take 1,000 to 14 hours to complete. That's Parmalee, Poirier and Associates.
1,000 to 1,400.
Hours, yes. So that would be significant. Again, they have to do some of this work anyways because they're doing the audit. Mr. Nicholson's proposal, dated July 15th, and I might add, he did it while he was on vacation. I'm very grateful. He proposed that 100 hours at his daily rate, capped at $25,000, so not to exceed price. So those are the two proposals in front of you. One is an approach by our current auditors. Again, some of the work they need to do anyways. The other thing, Mr. Nicholson is an attorney and a CPA. He specializes in this type of work. His wife runs a CPA firm. He runs the law side of the legal firm. He is here. I don't know if anybody is here from Parmalee, Poirier and Associates. I don't see anybody's hand going up. So at least Mr. Nicholson would be here if the council would like to ask him any questions. And then maybe we can...
And I believe Mr. Booth is here as well, who's been performing some work in the assessor's office, evaluating, analyzing, making sure that where they get tax bills and so forth, is here as well for questions. Discussion?
Yep.
Yeah, by all means. Any questions, comments? We're going to have discussion with this isn't I'm sorry, it's not a public hearing, but if there's time, we can perhaps entertain some questions after the council's.
Questions, President?
Mr. Zelinski.
Mr. Nicholson, are you associated or have you done any contractual work with Northeast, the appraising company?
No, I have not.
You have not?
Nor anyone in my firm.
Okay, thank you.
So, I'll just chime in that, we obviously have some very serious issues in the tax assessor's office. The staffing of that office right now is tenuous.
We have one assessing clerk that is in there permanently, and Mr. Booth is here, and if you'd like to ask questions of him about what he feels needs to be done and what, give you a kind of a encapsulation of what has been done to date, and might as well use his time. But we don't have a permanent full-time assessor yet. We need to get things under control and and delve into, as Mr. Yazbek had stated before, really drill down so that we don't let these things happen again.
And Mr. Booth is working at an hourly rate at this time, correct? Could you just
Yes,
let us know what that hourly rate is?
75.
Is that 175?
75, I'm sorry. Let's start with one.
Because, I mean, it seems to me that there's two separate things that need to be examined. One is just getting our arms around the actual numbers, so we have a better sense as to what the assessments and the abatements really are. And then separate from that is a question of broader process and how the operation goes. Would you like to speak to that?
Well, I'd just like to, I originally came up to look at the list to bid on the audit. And what I found was that despite the promises and what Ms. Boss said, the corrections that she said she had made had not been made. So I began to make the corrections as best I could with the abatement she had given. Now, you want to get a tax roll out in July. I came in June. I really didn't have a lot of time to see if the values were correct. When I was here today, I see that Ms. Boss had given someone a $400,000 abatement, which she labels as revaluation error. It's not. There are a lot of abatements for motor vehicles, which are the Rhode Island general laws that value motor vehicles. I haven't really been through any of those. There are a lot of changeable personal property abatements. The law is specific on how those are assessed. So I'm not sure that there's a lot wrong with your real estate, and there are errors in real estate. I'm not trying to defend the revaluation company or anything, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad revaluation. I think it was a unqualified assessor. I really think you need to look at, or somebody needs to look at, where the abatements, I mean, one of the motor vehicle abatements was a $580,000 trailer. Nothing to do with the revaluation company. Trailer was previously assessed at $13,000, suddenly became $580,000, somebody got a $23,000 abatement. You really need to know where the errors are, and then get into how to correct the errors. Next year, the motor vehicles will be done properly. Next year, the changeable property would be redone properly. I don't think there's a big problem with the real estate, but I really have to look into it. I will tell you that since I've been there, we've started to organize the office. We have forms, and everything is done according to the law. I've done a lot to straighten out the office and have it function like every other office in the state. So a lot of the things that the auditor said, you should be better organized, et cetera, I've already started to do that.
Mr. Booth, can you describe for the council the intensity of your involvement with the assessor's office? I'm sure that it's leveled off since the initial, when you know it hasn't. Can you describe how often you're there and who you're overseeing?
I oversee the one clerk. She emails me on a regular basis. I come up one day a week, trying to save the town some money, and I have other things to do. And I go through the appeals, I make the phone calls. I've made phone calls away from town hall. If the clerk calls me and says, this fellow has to speak to you today, I'll call him wherever I am. There's a lot of anxiety with taxpayers who have been told that you've been promised things that they never got. This is far from over, but we're working on it.
Any questions, discussion? It doesn't have to be limited to Mr. Booth either.
For clarification, Mr. Booth, I was trying to take notes, and you said that there had been a previously assessed trailer of $1,300. Is that correct?
$13,000.
Oh, $13,000, yeah.
In 2012, it was $13,000. In 2013, it was $580,000.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if the, I mean, it sounds like, I don't know if the administration has a recommended path. I mean, it is, if we're talking about an administrative office, and I know you've been very hands-on with it. Do you have a recommended path based on what we know?
No, I think, I'd leave it in Mr. Yazbak's capable hands. He's been doing a lot of behind-the-scenes meeting with folks and met with these gentlemen that are here. The only thing I would suggest is that we get still a better handle on values. I think it's not an accounting issue per se. I think Mr. Booth or Brendan or Dollar run you a report and all the numbers will flesh out. What we really need to do is make sure that when someone comes in and they've had an abatement or they feel the need for one this year, that we have documentation, that we have all the data that will support that abatement, that we have a mechanism for many eyes seeing it. And what had not been done is what is written in the charter, which is very important, whether we agree with it or not, or we think it's another step to go through. Technically, the way it should work is that a person comes in with an abatement and they have to go to the Board of Tax Review. That Board of Tax Review can then give it thumbs up or down and then goes on to the council for the final either approval or denial of that abatement. So along the way, you have a lot of checks and balances, which we haven't had. And we are adhering to that now. And Michelle, who is the tax clerk, has extensive assessing background. So she's very familiar with all the CAMA system and Patriot and Vision and the Reval companies and whatnot. So as Mr. Booth said, right now what we're doing is pretty much still stopping the bleeding. Now I've been at the office several days in a row, and I've probably myself handled 25 to 30 calls each time of people that feel that they got an inappropriate tax amount this year. So when we go back and we look to see what had happened previously, either there is no record or the record is solely missing. So what we need to do is determine exactly where we stand in terms of value, and I don't think it's so far off. I think as in any year, there are always some questions, and people question the values of their vehicles or tangibles or whatnot. What worries me is that we don't have enough documentation to the rationale behind why an abatement was given. And you cannot give an arbitrary abatement. You have to follow the law, and we have put in place significant, stringent policies right now that we're following. So my suggested path would be to let us still continue on, even simultaneously with another component added in, but allow Mr. Booth to continue on that path so we don't miss the values and the accuracy going forward, so that we're never faced with this again.
What makes this particularly challenging, and we have to be very careful that we're not discussing personnel issues, but that is an issue right now. And how we choose to approach this is influenced, at least for me, in large part, based on the outcome of that, which is not yet. I don't know if you can provide a sort of status report on where that is.
Yes, just very brief overview. We're working with our labor attorney, and we're still reviewing documents, and we should have a decision and a way to move forward within the next few weeks. Again, we will adhere exactly to the policies that are imposed within the charter, and there is a path that we need to follow, and that will be followed as well.
And can you describe how Mr. Booth was retained? Was he recommended, I think, from...
Recommended by the Department of Municipal Finance, and was...
The state municipal finance.
The state, right, and they said, if you need someone to go in and someone that knows this stuff backwards and forward, and you need to get a tax roll certified in a few weeks, you better get somebody in there. So he had originally come in wanting to, as this has always unfolded, to have, a place in the line for the audit. But when he got in here, I think he realized, uh-oh, let me roll up my sleeves and get this done and get this certification, so we didn't have a cash flow issue. The longer we waited to have bills sent out, the more possibility we have a cash flow situation. So we had to have it was kind of multi-level.
I don't know whether you had the benefit of seeing my resume, my CV, but I was the tax assessor in the city of Newport for nearly 30 years. I'm a certified general assessor, a certified general appraiser. My company's approved to do revaluations in the state of Rhode Island and the state of Massachusetts. I've testified in every court that exists in the state of Rhode Island, except as an expert. I have a pretty good idea of what should be done and what shouldn't be done. So it sounded like I was just kind of brought in because I happened to be on the sidewalk at the time, and I actually do know what I'm doing.
Thank you for that,
Mr. President.
Mr. Yazbek.
I've met with Mr. Booth and the town administrator. I haven't, at first I didn't want anybody in that department until we could get a handle on what's going on there. But given the fact that our schedule in the summer is, we don't have a meeting the first week of July, and the fact that at first it was very hard to get any firms to come in and offer some kind of audit. Again, I come back to the point that, we had a problem with the school department. We didn't, I think I said this before, that, we didn't ask anybody at the school department administration, who they wanted to have come in and take a look at their information. So as far as I'm concerned, I think Mr. Booth helping the town administrator get the tax roll done, was something that just had to be done, even though at first I was opposed to it. I've learned to accept it. Mr. Booth is qualified. And I think he can continue because there are day-to-day things that need to continue. On the other hand, I think there's still significant questions and concerns that I have that only an accounting or an auditing firm or somebody with some background in this kind of work can get to it. I don't think at this point in time it's an assessment issue. That house isn't worth 200, it's worth 180. I mean, you can argue about those things all day long, and Mr. Booth would be there to carry that forward. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. But I still think we need to get somebody, like Mr. Nicholson or like Palmerly, Poirier and Associates to come in and take a look at it. Now, Palmerly, Poirier and Associates don't feel comfortable giving a proposal. I don't, a firm proposal at this point in time, and I don't feel comfortable going any further. I would like to make a decision tonight, and I would like to move forward. And right now, so to speak, we asked for a proposal or whatever, and we've gotten one official back and one not so official, maybe. And the other advantage, so I'm going to recommend to my fellow councilors that we consider Mr. Nicholson. Having said that, Palmerly, Poirier and Associates of Poirier, Palmerly and Associates is still our auditors. They still need to do what they need to do to satisfy themselves to be able to render some kind of opinion on a financial statement. They have their hands full. We have, from at least the last time I spoke with the town administrator, we have a budget deficit that's approaching at least $800,000, and that's before the audit even starts. 790, I believe, was the exact number that communicated to me. So they have their hands full with all this other stuff. So if the council's looking, well, I guess I already made the recommendations. So I'll make a motion that we retain the firm of Nicholson and Associates to conduct a review up to, but not to exceed $25,000 on an agreed-upon procedures format, and I'd be happy to volunteer my service to assist in developing those agreed-upon procedures if somebody wants me to.
There's a motion by Mr. Yazbek. Is there a second?
Second, with understanding that Mr. Yazbek will avail himself to help us out with this.
Second by Councilor Zawinski. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. President, could I ask Mr. Nicholson if you, as a solicitor, do you see any benefit, although you're an attorney yourself, have the solicitor retain you versus the counsel in an attorney-client privilege? Because generally, if it was like a CPA firm, I would say that you probably should report to me for the attorney-client privilege, but because you're an attorney as well, I think that you have that with them. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I actually pointed that out in my proposal,
Okay.
that this relationship will enjoy attorney-client privilege scenario. Nicholson and Company, the CPA firm, as we come in under Nicholson and Company, they will report Nicholson Associates. And so the people who work with me, which is my own firm, frankly, will have attorney-client privilege. So anything you find that should concern the council, that should be addressed in the executive session. The Freedom of Information Act won't compel me to disclose information. I report solely to the council and administration.
Mr. Yasta.
The purpose of my motion was so that the council would retain Mr. Nicholson. Obviously, he's an attorney to be client privileged, but as you know, I have a long-standing dispute with the fact that our solicitor was given an engagement letter that allowed him to hire other lawyers and other professionals. I've been opposed to it. I've been voting no on every bill that's come before me for the last few months. That's not the way I want to work, so I would rather it be between the council and Mr. Nicholson. Obviously, we'll keep the solicitor informed. Obviously, he'll speak with the solicitor if there's an issue that surrounds something of a legal matter, i.e. personnel issues or something like that. But I think it's the council, and I want to do it that way because to me, that's the way the charter says we need to do it. With all due respect to the solicitor and his comments, but it's the council. My motion was for the council to hire Mr. Nicholson.
That was my second, Mr. President.
And, Mr. President, I understand that. I just wanted to cover all the bases and make sure that the council's properly represented, and if litigation comes down, we have the attorney-client privilege. That was the sole reason why I made that statement.
Thank you.
I know it was, but I just felt bad saying
Is there any other discussion? I will just say for myself that I don't have a problem proceeding. I think that for me, the issue is one of timing, because I think that the most urgent thing that's being done is being done right now. And for me, before agreeing to a cost of $25,000, I'd like to see the personnel issue resolved first. But that's one person's perspective. Is there any other discussion?
Well, yeah, Mr. President, the timing issue is the start date of the 28th. I understand your concern about the personnel issue, and we should be wrapped up by August 25th. I'm comfortable with the timing of the audit itself. Personnel issues is separate issue.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is, in fact, whether, depending on what the outcome of the personnel matter is, whether, in fact, that would even be needed to get what I believe to be a full-blown report on policies, procedures, and so forth. Because I just think that maybe the cart before the horse, but.
Mr. President, as a council, we can only deal with the things that we have control over. As you know, any kind of personnel matter can take on a life of its own. It could be over next week, it could be over next year, it could be over next decade. The fact of the matter is currently we have an employee, and I'd like to point out, still an employee, and maybe Mr. Nicholson, if he is retained and the motion is successful on a vote, he may want to interview her. Should have control over that now because she's an employee. The request can be made that she interviews with Attorney Nicholson. So he needs to do his job, but to wait and to wait and to wait. No offense, but this council was tripping over themselves to hire somebody to go after the school department. I would like everybody to just be treated the same. And if we're going to move forward, it's already been long. In my mind, should have been done 2 months ago if we could have moved a little quicker. But that's nobody's fault. Just nobody wanted to get going with the thing, so to speak. So, I think we need to move on.
Any further discussion from this individual? Okay, so we have a vote. We have a motion. It's been seconded. Discussion. I would ask for a roll call vote.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Valenti?
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Nicholson, for your time this evening.